Heroes of Eternia, Ninja Turtles. Now I've been waiting on these. Finally, I have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or at least some of them, from the newest wave. That cool Turtles of Grayskull wave that came out. I don't have a whole lot of these figures yet. Because I haven't ordered anything offline. I only ran into them in the wild, and so far only 3 of them. I found Mousejaw, I found Leonardo, Donatello. That's it. But, how do I put this? I'm not exactly worried that I won't get them. It seems like they're very available online and everything like that. I will put the money down at some point and bring all of them this direction. Not a problem, not worried. But wow, if there was something that spoke to me, right? It was this. When I grew up, and I've talked about this many times, I didn't watch Masters of the Universe. It was already gone by the time that I was old enough to care. It was gone. It was not a thing. Out of sight, out of mind was a huge deal back then because we watched what was on television, period. And by the time I was old enough to care, Ninja Turtles was on television. And it was everywhere. I mean, it was everywhere. That's what I watched. Later on in life, I got into things like Conan the Barbarian, Red Sonja, things of that nature, started getting into barbarians and liking all that ideal. And then the next thing I knew, you know, as an older man, I had all this stuff that came about that put me into Masters of the Universe. And there's an entire video that talks about my history with Masters of the Universe, why I was and wasn't a part of it for as long as I was. You can check that out. But look, I collected Ninja Turtles like crazy. They were my thing. Then, here all of a sudden, they say, by the way, Ninja Turtles and Masters, one universe. And I was like, that is insanity. That's my childhood falling into my current fandom. Like, it's almost poetic. It couldn't be more perfect. It literally could not be more perfect. It's insane how good that is. I think, just by looking at these, that I already love them. But there's only one way to know for sure. We gotta open them. Alright, here we go. First off, they're not giving away too much information on the boxes. This is pretty cool. It very much is a throwback to both box styles. One, we have the exploding rocks, but they're all green and everything, which is pretty cool. It adds an element of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Also, these were kind of done the same way. These cards and the cards that existed at the time for like He-Man were very similar. We can see that here. The back does offer artwork again, just like we had before. It shows that fantastic Shredder. I'm really into that Shredder. I think he's absolutely unbelievable. We have a cross-sell for what is currently out. Now, I saw these two at Target. All 4 of these were available, but my primary concern was to get the Turtles first. Because if by chance one of these two becomes a chase that's harder to locate, that's not going to bother me the same way if Leonardo became a chase that was impossible to locate. That would bother me a lot more. So I'm more than happy with picking up the Turtles first. They are the priority of the line, and then I'll go from there. So, spinning that around, same cross-sell down here, which is good. And we have Donatello fighting against the Samurai Beastman, which is also pretty cool. Now, both of these prominently feature Castle Grayskull. Nothing too big to say there other than the fact that that is a thing. And I'm very curious what this mini comic is going to be. How it's going to show. Because I'm really interested in what is taking place here. Why are they here? Have they always been here? Is this a universe where the Ninja Turtles are just there? Or is this a universe where the Ninja Turtles have been deposited into Eternia? I'm very curious. It does say crossing dimensions isn't so bad. Not if you're Donatello and strike up a friendship with Man-at-Arms. When these two tech geniuses put their minds together, they create turtle-inspired Eternia armor and combat Krang's mutants. Okay, so we're looking at a universe where we're in the standard Motu universe, as far as I can tell, and the Turtles have been deposited there, which is awesome. So now we've got Donatello and Man-at-Arms working together to build up new Eternian arsenal, which is really cool because, hey, if there are two characters that definitely should have meshed right off the bat, it was those two. So, let's see. An explosion from the Technodrome sends the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles across dimensions to Eternia. Now, augmented with tech from Man-at-Arms Armory, Leonardo leads his brothers into battle. Interesting. I was under the impression, looking at Leonardo, that something was going on where he had been, for some reason, granted the powers of He-Man. And that somehow he just got the armor and stuff like that. But no, these are still the standard Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But for right now, the TMNT have been upgraded with armor and tech specifically designed by Man-at-Arms and Donatello. Okay, now I know where the story is. I know what I'm looking at. I have a better understanding of how to analyze what it is that I'm looking at. This is not Leonardo, I have the power. This is Leonardo been granted armor and weapons from Man-at-Arms, replacing his original arsenal and making it so that he wouldn't have as much trouble combating Eternian warriors, especially since Krang is currently mutating Eternian warriors. This is interesting. Okay, now I'm all up to date. I kind of got an idea what's going on here. I want to look at these. I want to open them. Alright, so let's start with Donatello. Now, I wanted to get kind of an idea as to what we're dealing with here, so I dug out the old Donatello figure. And then I figured I unboxed him, and I also brought his mainline inspiration in, okay? So, let's get an idea here as to what we're looking at with Donatello. Of course, we all know, or at least I imagine, that we all know the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toy, okay? There he is. He's every bit as cool as you remember. These guys were these were fantastic toys, man. They really were. They were so cool. Mine's a little dusty. He's been put up for quite a while. But, yeah. These were unbelievable toys. They really were. They were just an absolute testament to their time, to their age. Now, I'm noticing that as much as I could tell from looking at Leonardo back there, we're looking at slightly different greens. But we're not going with the original shade green of Donatello from the original line. So we're stepping away from that, okay? Not that I'm complaining or anything like that. I'm just simply saying that I noticed it. This Donatello was a very different green. But this Donatello right here, I am digging some things about him. One, I like his size, okay? He's very much comparable to, I'd say, the new figure models that are currently coming out. Because, like, here, that looks fine, right? I mean, he looks about... But I'm almost thinking that Donatello might be scaled more to the cartoon line. Maybe not. Maybe the cartoon line is still... But then again, the Ninja Turtles... I need another character that would allow me to guarantee this. Because Turtles were short. I know that in a couple of the movies they've made the Turtles bigger, but the Turtles were short. They were shorter than April. Okay? So if I'm thinking that way, this guy might be in perfect scale to the cartoon line. I don't know. I'm fighting with myself about that. But it's very possible. And He-Man is supposed to be, like, big. You know what I'm talking about? Like, he's supposed to be big. And he doesn't look too ridiculous. And when I'm looking here, these guys are about perfect size right next to one another. Is that right? Should Man-at-Arms be bigger than Donatello? I don't know. So what I'm thinking here is that you can get away with either of the scales, and it wouldn't hurt. These guys are going to look good on your shelf, regardless of whichever one of these ideas you pick from. I'm loving this idea, this helmet that he's got. I like the bandana. The helmet does not come off. I like this. This is really cool. It's very much a nod to that. I like this one-armed armor. I really like that, actually, with the turtle shell and the look and everything like that. I like that he's got like a laser thing right here. He's got 2 leg coverings instead of just 1 leg covering. He does still have the Eternian shorts, like we expect, and he has the little arm gauntlet pieces and things like that, which we expect. So far, I'm really liking this. I'm only finding issue, like I like this a lot too. His weapon is very much like a long version of the club that Man-at-Arms had. And I think that's really cool. I think it works very, very well. I like it. I like it a lot. I like that we're sticking with, what makes sense for Donatello. He has that long bow staff weapon. Man, I am having a lot of trouble with this. Get in the hand. There. But, okay, there. He's got that long bow staff weapon, but it's still kind of new. It's a Man-at-Arms thing. It's got a turtle shell on top and everything like that. I like this. I think it's really cool. I think he is really cool. But now we have an issue. I may have already found one thing I'm not too thrilled about. Turtles are supposed to have turtle shells. There we go. That seems fine at first glance. And this is open in a way that makes me feel like the bow staff will fit there and he can hold it on his back. Let's see, actually, because we need to know. Dang. There. It can be done, but it makes him really, like, back heavy. There. I got him standing even with it, but I don't think I'm going to be doing that. Dang. Like, dang. Yeah, I'm not going to be doing that. He will hold that weapon. So here's my issue. The shell comes off. Now, you could say what you will about that. But I don't like the fact that the shell comes off and there's this, like, other little shell. I don't like that. And I know this is like a shield. He could take this off and he can use it, but I also don't like the idea that, like, does that mean that this is the actual shell and that Donatello with Man-at-Arms has found a way to change their, like, biology and allow for the shell to be, like, an actual weapon? I like my turtles to have their shells. I don't like it when that gets taken off. This is a minor complaint. And, like, from the back, you're not going to notice too much of a bad thing. From the side, you kind of will. From the side, you could tell that it's not actually connected, that it hangs down. But I don't think it's a deal breaker. I still think this is a really cool Donatello. And you know what it reminds me of? This is very much like when I was growing up, right? The Turtles, in order to create figure after figure after figure after figure, the Turtles often were, like, in spacesuits, basketball gear, trench coats, all kinds of different things. They took them and just put them in anything. They were like samurais. Remember, there were samurai turtles. So, like, the fact that Turtles have been doing this forever with like this extreme crossover idea makes me feel like this just fits. It works. It doesn't feel removed or strange in any way, really. It just feels kind of perfect. I like it. I like it a lot. I have absolutely no problem adding him to the shelf. This is great. Let's look at Leo. Okay, so moving on to Leonardo, I'm thinking the greens are a little closer here, but still, you get the idea. They're not going with the original color greens or whatever, but I do think his green is different than Donatello's, and that's solid. Now, so far, out of all the Turtles I've seen, Leo is the one that I wanted the most. Like, he just looks awesome. I love this L here. I like the belt. I like the motif that kind of puts him... He's the He-Man variant of all this. He still keeps his bare feet. He's not wearing, like, boots or anything like that. I like his armor pieces that are very, like, samurai-like, but at the same time, they have very much a Masters of the Universe Man-at-Arms type of feeling to them, while at the same time picking up a couple of aspects from Grayskull. And the Grayskull aspect, by the way, is one of the ones that I like a lot, because it helps his shell. This, right here, this little fur, that helps to connect the shell in a way that kind of does away with the seam a little bit more than what Donatello had going on. Donatello's seam is a lot more noticeable. And like I said, I kind of wish that these shells were, like, attached. I don't like that they can come off and be used as a shield. I mean, I guess that's fine, but like, I'm really not digging the turtle shell shield thing. Leonardo came with 2 swords, and they're right here. And they come with the same problem that we had in the original He-Man toys. So there's supposed to be the idea that he can dual wield 2 swords. But when he does that, they end up like this, and you gotta, like, you'd have to, like, have them in his hands very specifically to get the 2-sword effect and not notice that they're broken in half. Very much like the original Power Sword idea, this is 2 swords that go together. And while that is cool, on a toy, it does offer a bit of a problem. Because on a toy, you're always going to have the fact that these are 2 sides. Now, the best that we could have hoped for with this is if we would have got sculpted single swords and then another sculpted sword that would have been complete. For the idea of display, I am going to put my sword together so that it's a complete weapon. And so that it doesn't have that problem, it doesn't have the seam problem, because I feel like that would bother me, like, too much. Luckily, this goes together very well. Once you have it together, it is practically seamless. Like, yeah, you can tell, but it goes together better than the old Power Sword went together, because that is a lot more noticeable. And not just because it's 2 colors, but because the tips are always kind of off when you put this thing together. They never quite close up right. And it's noticeable, and it is a little irritating sometimes, where this looks complete. It doesn't bother me at all that it's like that. Now, the idea here, if we make him right-handed, maybe he could have the shield. And the reason I would do this, the reason I would say make him right-handed, is because the left hand has the extra armor. So if I was going to do this, I would pivot him to have the sword and have blocking. So we're looking at something like this, where he could take care of himself while utilizing this big blade. That's what I would do on a personal level. That's how I would utilize this. I think that it makes sense for him to be right-handed single sword. I love this. I love this Leonardo. This Leonardo is what made me want the line. This is really good. And so far, I'm into this. I'm very interested to see where this will go, and I'm really interested to see what it's going to be like when I have all the turtles, all 4 turtles. What are they going to look like? What kind of dynamic will we have when all 4 turtles are present? I'm really looking forward to this. Like, I got to get the other 2. So far, I don't think we've even seen Mikey, but we know Raph. Raph is basically Ram Man. So, yeah, this is awesome. I need to get the other 2. And I also need to open Mouse Jaw. But Turtles is the ones that are my primary focus in terms of collecting this line. I will get the rest of this line if I run across it, but the Turtles are my primary concern, and I guess the Shredder. So, that adds Donatello and Leonardo, Turtles of Grayskull, to the shelf. I like these. I like them a lot. I don't know what they're going to look like when I get all 4 of them together. And I am curious, are they meant to line up with the body captures of the new cartoon line? Or are these turtles supposed to be big? Because Leonardo is bigger than He-Man. Donatello basically is like the littlest bit bigger or almost the exact same size as, say, Man-at-Arms. That makes me wonder a little bit, because if you remember the old toys, the turtles were smaller than, like, April. So I am very curious how that's supposed to work. Like, where are we putting their scale? And when I read the mini-comic, I'm sure I'll figure that out perfectly. I'll know what the scale is supposed to be, and it'll give me an extra little idea as to certain other qualities, too. And the other thing that'll be interesting, because this will really determine it, and she's not out yet. When they release Teela will still just be a human character. And she's supposed to be, as far as I understand, just Teela. I mean, yeah, she'll get like new armor and stuff like that, and she'll look a certain way, but she's supposed to be Teela. So which body they choose to use will determine where these guys' scales are supposed to be. And I probably could have figured it out as well just by buying the Man-at-Arms. Because if the Man-at-Arms figure from this line is bigger, like he's the cartoon size, then that's the scale of the line. It's hard to tell just with 2 Ninja Turtles where their scale is supposed to be. Do they scale with the Origins guys that have already come out? Do they scale with the new cartoon line? Do they scale with the current Powers of Grayskull that's about to be a big thing? The next wave of stuff. I don't know. I am curious. I don't know. But I do know one thing. New Ninja Turtles have been added to the shelf, and they are fantastic. Later on.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.